camera was angled at the end when he came to the club. Did you notice it?
No.
Yeah, somebody said something about that on Threads. I was like, he wouldn't have gotten old if he wasn't.
If he was a vampire, right? That was another thing too.
Plus, like I said, he wouldn't offer.
It doesn't make sense.
I'm gonna use. Shout out to Mr. Olowski. I'm gonna use my storytelling, foreshadowing skills, and
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said,
Yeah, they reached on that one because I was like, I know this is a little blurry right now because I had watched it again and it was like, but
I got everything like from the art. Like even the people that was like talking about, I said, y'all the motherfuckers like you didn't pay attention to history class.
I was about to say,
Because like you pay attention, like everything is linked. Like and this is in history, bro.
Make
like,
him
a vampire, right?
From the Indians, like who actually helped out the Irish people during the famine. God, so much, but.
Alright, y'all. So.
Oh damn, you started this shit already.
Yeah, I'm. The video recording has already started, but when y'all are ready, we're gonna start the episode. Like I said, I definitely was wanting to get the readings done and all of that first.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Nah, you good. So, actually, before we do that,
I just thought,
make sure
maybe
this.
y'all want sometimes.
Nah, you did.
Just a sneak peek of what this is me being vulnerable.
Oh, no, I was gonna tell you if you was making those shit. I'd be like, nah, that don't sound like me at all.
and see, that was the thing because I don't have a lot of clients, but the few I do have will come back. Like even my friend, my friend Akia, she mostly hit me up for the dream interpretations and stuff like that. So, but I mean, y'all get to see and experience.
You wanna know what's crazy?
What you about to? I feel like that look on your face.
It ain't nothing crazy. But no, like I think I seen it in movie, but like the part I know before we start, my bad. But that part like movies where like it's a dude and a girl, like say they might be on a date or something, and they pass like a gypsy or like a fortune teller. She's like, oh come on babe, let's get our fortune read. Like she just playing, and then they like read, like she read the dude. No, she read the girl first. She like, okay, yeah, you know that I would do. And then she look at the dude hand, she like, oh. And then but she actually started telling him about himself, and then he like get mad, and he just
this
like,
happened for real?
No, like I think it's like in a movie, like.
Oh.
But I pay attention to it because I always think about stuff like that.
Sushi too.
Ooh, what's up?
I'll eat raw.
Spicy sound.
Oh, spicy.
I'll eat raw.
Can't do spicy.
Well, that's how I can't say I don't eat sushi, bro. I'll try.
Look, it was just because it was special.
I always think about that. Like, dude, like I'm out and I might get my palm read or something, and like the palm read, she actually tell me about myself, and then I get mad, and then I walk off, and then the girl be like, well, what
I've been thinking about
what's
getting
wrong,
into that.
babe? I'll be like, damn, she really told me about myself.
So you don't do palms?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
No. But I will try to look into it, get into it.
I mean, I was very much interested in your readings because I mean, you know, I follow you, so I see that you do them. But I think I did a palm reading before, and somebody was telling me like, oh, you're like getting over something as well, and I was like, I didn't know if I should trust it or what, but I thought that I would go to someone else too.
Because it wasn't as specific, like it wasn't specified.
It felt like it was generic, so I was just like, okay.
Yeah, I have to read more up on that, but I know definitely once I'm done where I'm at now, I'll probably be studying astrology. Like I feel like even now, I catch on pretty quickly to that. That'll help you with present and future, even learn about your past, ancestral, karma, all that good stuff.
See,
Yeah.
I need to get into it.
Yeah, it get deep.
See, I'm gonna keep it 1,000. I believe in this stuff to a certain extent. Like I really do. Like I'm not. Like I'm never dismissive.
Don't get me wrong. Just some things are still faded. Like
I mean, I know nothing's guaranteed. Like anything's might take.
yeah, or you can't try to, want to work your way around something. You just leave alone.
That's why, damn. We talking about that. Like that part where Smoke was like, I was like, I'm definitely stabbed. But that part where Smoke was like, like he was telling his girl like, I've been all around the world. I ain't never seen no ghosts, like that part was me. But I'm like everything else was stabbed. But even still, because it's like Smoke still like believe if people paid attention when his girl said, "Hey," he ain't be like, "Girl, what you talking about?" Or like he ain't be dismissive. But like he was like as a matter of fact, he was really looking at her like, "Hey, if she said you dead, I mean, I'm not going against what she's saying." And that really kind of showed me like despite what he was saying, like, yeah, I don't believe in brother, like his belief in her made him be like,
trust her. Yeah.
Oh, I might not necessarily believe in this 100%, but I believe in her 100%. So if she's saying that this is what it is, this is what it is. Like, which she was right. Like she was right. So I mean, which everybody else would have just, oh yeah, come on in.
Yeah.
She like, hold on, like, what you talking about, bro? But we'll let you go ahead and get started.
I was about to say, how to go live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Before the Fame podcast. We have 2 special guests here today. One who's already been with us, Jonathan, my brother, and we also have another special guest here. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, Martiana.
Alrighty, Marti. And today we're going to get into a special episode. This is the Education Over Shame series, and today we're going to be talking about balance. So everything that we are talking about is going to balance itself out, whether we're talking about good versus evil, matriarchy versus patriarchy, and we're just going to keep going with that concept, but we're going to tie this into a movie that we all have seen. Hopefully you guys have seen it too. This is Sinners. And this episode is very special to me because I feel like this is going to tie into not only our personal lives today, but ancestry, history, and things that we, just get into when we talk about how we got to this point. But before we get into that, I want to ask you guys today, what is your definition of balance? So, Jonathan, we'll start with you. What do you think is balance to you?
Balance is filtering out what does not feed your soul or your energy. Because if you don't do that, then, you're just having whatever enter your temple, your body, your spirit, whatever you want to call it. And just about... as crazy as it sounds, like chilling. Like I equate balance to like chilling because if you balance it, like it's not rising, it's not lowering, it's kind of just
nice. So it's in the middle. Basically.
Yeah, pretty much. And you can look at that as like chilling. Like you could go out, turn up, go to a club, spend money that you really don't need to be spending, or you could be like, I'm gonna chill at the crib, call up a nice little shorty, and kick it. So yeah.
I believe that balance is embracing your light and your darkness. Embracing the light and the dark. And balance is also duality, those polarities, that yin and yang. You're balancing your feminine and your masculine. So being open to receiving and knowing when to take action, but it's a matter of both so that you stay in alignment.
Right.
And you can't have one without the other.
Right.
So everything it ain't gonna always be light, and it ain't gonna always be dark.
Mm-hmm.
But you wanna you wanna embrace both, and you wanna. What's the saying I said earlier? You gotta. The only way out is through. So addressing, confronting your shadow side, your darkness, in order to reach that light. That makes sense.
And I agree with both of you guys wholeheartedly. I think the only thing that I would add to that is that we have to look at it like, okay, we have 24 hours in a day. Half of those hours are spent working and improving ourselves, and the other half of those hours are spent resting and, just gaining that energy back that we spent doing those tasks or, going out to achieve our goals. And there's a balance in making sure that we are okay, because sometimes we have to make sure others are okay, or making sure that our children have been fed or anything like that. But then you got to take that time for yourself to make sure that you're okay. And today we're going to get over those topics as well, because like I said, this is a Sinners episode, so we're going to tie some of this, or most of this, to the Sinners characters, and we're going to get into the first topic of fake villains versus real villains. And I want to ask you guys, who do you think was the real villain in Sinners? Because there's a lot of, subplots here. There's a lot of people that, you could make your villain, but who is the real villain in your story or your vision of this movie, Jonathan?
I'm the villain. I'm the villain. The bad guy. No, I'm just playing. I must go out on a limb and say, most people gonna say, "Oh, it's the white vampire." No, I think what Ryan Coogler was trying to say was it could be anybody or anything. Like going back to what I was saying about filtering, because again, it wasn't necessarily, we gotta watch out for the white people. Da da da. No, he was actually coming on some, inclusivity, versus exclusivity. If you think about it, especially during, I think the movies like 1932, So I think is any energy or any any energy vampire that comes around, like I said, that could be a person, that could be a place, that could be a thing that is, draining you or your community from, what it is for the most part. I'm not gonna say it was necessarily the vampires, because I just think that was like a representation, because to me, color didn't matter. Like I said, anyway, a vampire only cares about blood, so it wouldn't be about skin, it wouldn't be about Jim Crow, none of that shit. So I think that's what Remick was, a physical manifestation of energy vampire that, like I said, hell, today, like I said, that you have those kind of people or those kind of things. So,
I think that so we know that every villain has a backstory, and I felt like who people thought were the villains in the movie, they didn't just, I guess start out like that. It was something that happened to them. So I guess that's why people say the real villain is the white man, or what's the word I'm looking for?
Remick.
Oppressor. Not Remick.
The white supremacy.
The white supremacy, because Remick was Irish.
I was about to say,
and
he
spoke,
was not. To me, that was the fake villain.
I mean, people still say white man,
Yeah, and he spoke about it when we seen him reciting the Bible with Sammy, and he spoke how he felt about that. and how his people, you know, they came over and colonized, you know, they on their land, or however you want to put it.
Basically the same thing.
So I mean, I guess, because I'm really about to answer the whole. I was gonna say, I think the real villain is the white supremacists, or white supremacy, or the white man, but not Remick or
White supremacy.
not Remick or Smoke or Stack. I feel like I guess you could say it felt like the odds were stacked against them. So I guess that's where we go into the choices and the circumstance. I think the only person, not a villain, but just actually made the choice, like they didn't care about the external or the material, was Annie. Like even when, you know, because Smoke tried to offer her the money, whatever, you know, she was stuck in, she was grounded in her belief in her spirituality. I was going somewhere else with this, but yeah. So maybe I guess the circumstance would maybe what turned them into the villain, or made them look like a villain to everybody.
Okay. So I had layers to this question because
yeah, I was thinking hard about this one.
When I watched it the first time, I was like, okay, everybody want to look at the vampires, but they talking about love. They talking about unity.
Can you pause for 1 second?
Oh, go ahead.
Now you remember, you know, Remick talking about inclusivity and community, like everybody being one.
Right.
But Remick also had the trauma of
he
wanting to go back where he was, or being, you know, with his family again. And remember, Annie said, she said, I feel pain.
Right. Yeah, because, not to cut you off, but.
And so he was trying to create that, I'm sorry. He was trying to create that through he couldn't find it. He kept searching for it, and he felt like he could get that through Sammy.
Right.
Because Sammy was piercing the veil with his gift.
Okay. And that's a valid, to me, that's valid. That's valid.
Okay.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like the movie, like the bad guy was the energy vampire, because no matter, like, you can look at technically the white supremacists, or even relating to the music part, like, you know, we going back to the blues and all this stuff, like, technically those people that were putting up, like, they were vampires for those artists. Like, they didn't necessarily do the right thing by them. They didn't pay them everything that they was owed. Like, they literally took it. It was like, hey, you know, yeah, you're this blues artist, but behind the scenes, you know, we're taking it. And even for the actual vampires, it's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna take your blood and, you know, all the other stuff, but wait, you actually can, as Remick said, connect me to my people. Going back to what I was saying, like, not everybody has that gift of being able to connect people. Like, not everybody can, you know, whether it's your voice, whether it's, you know, whatever, you know, bringing people. That's what I was saying, like, having energy vampires. I feel like that's the evil in the movie, because I don't feel like I've had people that I've known that are energy vampires. Like, yeah, they're not actual monsters, but what I went through, or being around you, and as soon as I was like able to get from around you, it's like, okay, I snap out of it. Like, I'm like, damn, like, okay, I was about to fall under the spell. Like, I'm tripping, you know. So, but, and I feel like, especially like I said, for the white supremacists, because again, they vampires as far as, like I said, the money. Like, they don't necessarily. Yeah, like, well, yeah, capitalist. Like, that's a better way to put it. Like, they don't care about the black people, what they got going on. They just like, give me your money.
As far as the energetic vampires, like, it's like they bring you down with them, or they suck the life out of you to make themselves feel good. And that's just even with people that just got a light about themselves, or it's just they're a lighthouse for other people.
Being a good person. Like,
yes.
Like, people,
and sometimes
like,
that's where, when we did the read earlier, that's when my discernment came in. So, like, people people really got this shadow. Like they showing me one thing, but internally they don't really. And sometimes it's unconscious. They don't really have good intentions. But that's because they have something that they need to work on internally.
And I feel like that's what Remy was dealing with too. It was like, you know, and why he kind of catered to it was poetry, him trying to cater to the black people, because, again, like I said, if you don't know history, yeah, you might just look at everything and be like, oh, why is this and da-da-da, but no, like, the Indians helped the Irish people with the famine, Remick, you know, catering to the Ku Klux Klan, like all of that stuff, and you know, just being like, okay, like
Yeah, you know how to play with that.
And I'm glad that you brought that up.
He was literally taking
I'm
from
glad
like,
that you brought that up.
He trying to take from everybody,
Because
bro. Like he's an energy vampire, bro.
Who I vision as the real villain, and I agree with both of y'all points of the energy vampires, the people who are dealing with they're dealing with unresolved trauma. Yes, we look at the vampires over here as a villain, of course, but to me, the real villain is the white supremacists, KKK, because they sold.
We
They
about to make
sold
this a race
this.
thing, man.
No. We're not making this about race, but they sold the land knowing that they were going to come back eventually, whether they were alive or dead. They were going to come back eventually to take care of business. And we saw in the movie that Stack and Smoke, they said, hey, if y'all come back, we gonna kill you. And that's exactly what he did at the end, but you know, we getting ahead of ourselves.
Was that not
Okay.
but was that not them being
That to me is why I said
being vampires though? Like,
no. See, that's I agree with what you're saying.
Not in the like they're physically vampire. I'm saying in the.
That's what I said. I agree with that.
Evil is whether it's the Irish vampire, whether it's the white supremacist, whoever you allow to. Well, actually,
He didn't allow it though.
Not necessarily allowed, but Smoke and Stack, yes, they were doing business, but technically, like I said, that's still you allowing that evil to come in. And going back to the basis of the whole, you gotta let evil come in to where you at. Like, I'm glad that, you know, Ryan, like, took it back to that, because, like, most people forget that about vampires. It's like, no, you gotta, again, you could be over here doing this in your crib, but if you allow certain energies, if you say, or for us, if we having a house party, and we allow a nigga that we know is on some fuck shit in, I mean, whatever happens after that is like, well, you invited that energy in.
I also think, aside from what we said, what we thought who the villain was, I think also the villain is anyone in desire of something or having more. So they make that deal. They invite it in, whether it's for money, money, anything like that. Because what are the 7 deadly sins? Greed,
Sloth,
Wrath,
gluttony,
pride.
Did we say it all?
You said like 5 of them. We were missing like 1 or 2, but
lust.
Yeah, lust. Can't forget that one.
I was about to say lust. That we gonna get into that too. Yeah, everything was presented in this movie.
I mean,
yeah. So and that's what kept that going. Like that's what's keeping that energy going.
Because I feel like in 2025, for me personally, I don't see no blood sucking they on my neck, but I felt energy vampires where I'm like, no, I need to get away from whatever house, whatever people, whatever, like, I need to get away from that shit.
Okay, so pride, envy, wrath, sloth, greed, gluttony, lust.
Yeah. And this is why I said it's a layered question, because on the surface, you can say, all right, the vampires, the energy suckers, but then when you get deeper into it, I think the Klan, the white supremacy was definitely a villain. But even deeper than that, you can also say Sammy's father was a villain as well, because he didn't necessarily want his son to be free.
But
I was gonna get into that part on our next tape. Yeah.
but that's go back to, and this just me personally. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I don't care. For me, being somebody that's able to play a musical instrument, like that's what I was telling Martiana. I said, yeah, like I could go to some place in the South and somebody look at me playing the baritone, they'd be like, bro, like you sold your soul, like they'd be like, bro, how you know how to play that well?
They
bro?
think
like,
that you got that gift from the devil.
And for me, it's just like, and why I like the fact that Sammy kept playing throughout, because going back to what I was saying, like you do what you want. Just because your dad tell you, hey, this is bad. Even if you sing like, damn, this banjo and this music brought all this trouble.
So this is what I wanted to say. His, and I guess kind of going into the next question, the father, he's very, I guess you could say traditional, like he real or strict on certain things. And I do feel like some people's fear of engaging in certain things and areas or using our gifts, because using your gifts, you are on that line or that thinning veil. Like they said in the beginning, you can heal, but you can also attract other entities that aren't so welcome. And I feel like a lot of elderly people like that, because they have experienced some things, they automatically write it off as this is evil, we not gonna mess with this is what we not gonna do.
They say this is evil, the devil's lettuce.
I am glad that Sammy chose to keep playing, because we go back into balance. And then you also have a choice. You can use your gifts in
you can use it for the right reasons, right?
In the right way, in a healthy way, in a healthy manner. Like you have a choice not to.
So let me ask you. I'm sorry, not to cut you off. Let me flip it from the musical thing, going back to gifts, because technically, some people could look at Miss Annie, her gifts. Like you got some people that would look at me like, I don't know, man. That's that witch stuff, man. Da da da. But then you got some people that's like, no, or even how she carried herself. It's like she didn't really. I could tell they didn't show their relationship. I could tell like even when she was with Smoke, she didn't seem like the type that was overly bearing or overly. She like, hey, look, this is what I believe in. Put this on. This is gonna protect you. So and I guess what I'm saying, some people could look at that as kind of what I was saying, like with the music thing. Like I look at that as, okay, no, I got a gift, I can play an instrument. Yeah. But they might look at that as like, well, I don't know, that's that devil stuff or that voodoo stuff.
I think for some people it's hard to believe, and also because they don't understand it. And also another aspect is colonization.
Damn, no, that's you gotta throw that in there, like, because Christianity, like that matters.
You gotta remember that too. The white man coming in, or the oppressor coming in, like switching up stuff to have control, to be in control. Because what was happening was a lot of our ancestors were using root work and voodoo or to protect themselves from the slave master. That's what was happening, because it was really doing some things to them, because they were harming our ancestors. So like, even for example, if I'm not mistaken, one of my tarot decks, my hoodoo tarot decks, it gives like a backstory on Frederick Douglass, and his slave owner was messing with him, and he went to like a root worker or whatever to help him. So I had found it interesting that Miss Annie had gave the kids the High John, the High John Conqueror route, because I think that was one of the things that were also used for protection, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
One of the one things I thought about, like, or what I loved about like smoking smoking Miss Andy's dynamic. Like you could tell early on, like I said, Smoke tell you right away. And he said, "Look, I done killed niggas. I done seen men get killed. Like I know you talking about demons and all that stuff, but like I said, they weren't dismissive of each other. Like you could really tell. Like I said, when that cornbread scene happened, most movies, the guy, which is why I like when Cornbread was like, yeah, Smoke, like he trying to go back to the man, like, oh yeah, I need to be talking to you. Right. She like, no, hell no, fuck that. And you see Smoke look at her like,
yeah,
no.
She knew, she felt that instantly.
I'm going with what she say over you, my boy. Like,
and with Annie and Smoke's relationship, I feel like you said, they weren't dismissive of each other. Annie really loved Smoke. One, and she knew that he was being faced with his circumstances. That's the way he chose to go about things. I think she knew that as well. That's why she's not so dismissive of his view on things and his lifestyle.
So you just answered the next question.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Last thing, but that's why I'm like, I also like the part where you found out that he was wearing I don't know
the Mojo bag.
Right, because it's like she said,
everybody can have one of those.
She called him out on his shit. It was like, yeah, you talking all that, but you got this on though.
But
okay.
He hurt me. He hurt me a little bit.
So that kind of showed his belief though, if you think about it. Like,
but when he mentioned the miscarriage, when he hit that, I was like, you ain't have to hurt our feelings like that. But that's what I was saying.
He gave a man's response, because I'm not gonna lie.
But that's what I was saying earlier about fate. And I do believe that everything happens for a reason.
True.
So even like from my personal experience having a miscarriage, like I think it was just actually really not being prepared. And this is God saying, no, this is not what I want for you right now. But ultimately it caused like a little shift in my lifestyle, like, because I already had a kid, getting more prepared. Getting more prepared, and I still got things that I need to get done before I get to that point of having, caring for another child. But yeah, but that's what I was saying about fate. Some things are fated, like, because he said something, how come, that didn't work on the the miscarriage.
But see, I interpreted that two ways. That was the first. The second one was,
and him trying to discredit what she do too. That was, I feel like he was trying to.
I feel like he was you could look at it,
but he was hurt.
He was more so hurt.
He's hurt.
And when he was why you can do that, for our baby. I also feel like, the brothers, thought that they came, from evil. So, not saying that he necessarily put the miscarriage on himself, because he I done did a whole bunch of bad shit. Like, it might be like some, karma type stuff, coming back on me. But, how people talked about them, and, how Smoke got out. It was like, yeah, he was, kind of digging when he said that, because come on, don't nobody. Even Christian people can't just pray to God and be like, I need to be able to pay this bill tomorrow, God. I'm praying to you right now, and it happens tomorrow. No, that's not how that works. So, but I feel like, Smoke might have also looked at it like, damn, I done did a lot of, evil shit, and if it protected me.
He probably felt like it was karma.
Yeah, and karma, damn, come
yeah.
So.
And since we are already on the topic,
Could be wrong.
Is the balanced episode, and I just want to say, Smoke and Stack's characters, I learned a lot from their dynamics because you had one brother who was over here. He was charismatic. He made sure to give the
He knew how to get people's attention.
He made the people feel good in Stack. And then you had Smoke, who was the observant one, who was quiet. He made sure to make sure the business was going according to plan. And I think that with those two balances, you had a very smart plan of all right, we're gonna do this tonight. We're gonna make sure that we give these people a good time. And we also want to make money in the same breath.
They threw a party. There's some Atlanta niggas, if you ask me. But,
that very much so. Southerners.
Yeah, some Atlanta niggas.
They gonna show the Southern hospitality. And what I want to ask you guys again, Marty already answered, but do you think that they became villains by choice or by circumstance?
Well, if it's on me, my definite, when it comes to villains, it depends on what causes you to do what you need to do.
So it sounds like choice.
That's why.
The twins definitely the twins they definitely made a choice. That's why with them coming back, it was people kind of pissed. They coming talking everybody. Oh yeah, we know you but they really running from shit. If you kind of peep the movie, they really set up some shit and they
you gotta look at why they ran though.
I mean, why you ran and. Again, like I said, everything comes back to choice because, the things that I do, again, there's some things, I will take to the grave that nobody will ever know. That, that I, chose to do. And there are also things, that I've done that are helpful to other people that have, brought people together that have, some people could look at it as, okay, well, yeah, y'all just da-da-da. But how I look at it, it's okay, well, and the parallel with the party in church, because some people look okay, well, I don't go to church, but they in the fucking club, excuse my language, every other night. But that's still, for some people, that's still a type of church. If you get what I'm saying, but
I'm sorry, and it's probably, I feel like it may be that way because we know the church sometimes can be very judgmental, very. Where they can, criticize in place, but the club is everybody at the club, and it ain't just one. Everybody is themselves. They feel, a little free where they can just be themselves. They ain't really no judgment on them. And I'm not saying that's in every church or all the time at church, but
for real, church say come as you are, but you come as you are for real.
And to back it up a little bit, I think back to the choice or, circumstance, and I feel like with Smoke and Stack, they wanted what they wanted and they was trying to get it. So they made a choice to go do what they do so they can have that shit.
Because I'm not going to lie, I would definitely be sad.
I guess you could say by any means.
And to me, they came off as two people that, again, clearly came from trauma. And, kind of like what I was talking about with my brother, where it's bro, we're not going for shit. Not that we got to walk around as the hardest people. I wouldn't even want people to not want to do, and that's what I liked about Smoke. It's people knew not to play with them, but they weren't too afraid to not do business with them. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They were able to, hey, I need signs done. Hey, I need 40 pieces of fish, whatever they were trying to put together. Hey, I need blah, blah, blah. I need security, because that's what cornbread was, technically, which is so crazy, because you done got down, right, that part, can I at least get my money? Bro, I like it, bro. This is so slick,
Are we still on the question of balance? Or
yeah.
Okay. I wanted to say this too. So we see smoke and stack, we see smoke and red, and we see stack and blue. So symbolically, we could say the red is the yang, the masculine energy, and then stack, he's wearing blue, the feminine, the yin energy. But what?
Can we say
No, stack.
Can
No,
we say
smoke was in.
calmer? Can we say blue is calmer? Cause
No.
I look at blue as like.
Wait, smoke was in. Smoke was in blue, not red.
Yeah, smoke was in blue.
Stack.
Was in red.
Stack was in blue, and I feel like the color they were wearing the opposite color of what they were embodying. Because I felt even though smoke was wearing the feminine energy, the blue color, I felt like he presented more of the masculine energy because he was more logical in his thinking, and he was chasing. He was chasing that money. He was
Honestly.
And then, so it's like they were wearing the colors of the energy that they needed to embody. And Stack was in red, but Stack presented more emotional, like understanding energy, but also feminine energy. The yin is also the dark side of balance.
Well,
we seen
I'm about to say
how him and old girl working together.
because and I ain't gonna lie, see that'd be me. I'll be all tough and then look, she like, yeah, I see through all that. You said this, but what about that? I'm like,
Stack was in red, but he was the more sweeter one. He wasn't as really as like, he get down, get the business like Smoke was.
Well, and see, this is why this question was a bit tricky for me because I feel like it was a mixture of both. Their circumstances coming from an abusive parent, having to live in the slavery of the South, made them choose to go to Chicago, or not even Chicago, but to have to go from a place where they know to a place where they don't know and have to basically create their own life. And I think that because of that circumstance of like, hey, like, this is already toxic here, it's going to make me, go crazy. Instead of like just accepting that, they wanted to create a better life. So that's why I was like, this question, I mean, there was no right or wrong answer, but I feel like it was a balance of both circumstances and choice. They chose to go to the North, and they chose to basically rob and make sure that they were taking care of themselves, and they were successful in this sense.
Even when they got to the North, and he was talking, because Sammy was saying he wanted to leave, like, and Smoke was telling him it ain't all what we thought it was, what you think it is. And so, yes, the circumstance led them to make that choice, and when they got there, it wasn't all amped up to what they thought it would be. So maybe it also could have been circumstance. So yeah, it could have been a balance. So they just kept doing what they.
Well, I'm gonna put myself in their shoes. Scraping together and changing your circumstance, like that's what I'm like. I get it, like, and when you accept what comes with whatever comes with what they were doing, because again, you didn't go to Chicago to be a nice person. Like, you clearly were. You had a reputation where you were at. You went to, which I kind of appreciate, because if you gonna finesse, at least go finesse the white people and bring it back to your folks and try to start a business. Because I'm like, that's kind of like, if you think about it in today's terms, that's what they did. It's like they finessed the white people, or like the banks, quote unquote, got the money, came back to their folks and was like, hey, we finna start our own shit, employ our people, But it was definitely, choice and circumstance. But at the same time, it's like, when you got it, when your option is that or that, it's like, okay, like if I gotta look like a villain or a bad person, fuck it. Because at the end of the day, you gotta take care of what you got going on. Like regardless of how you look. If you look like a good person, if you look like a bad person, you gotta handle your shit. Right? Not saying they had to do that, but just thinking about what they like and growing up in the South, music and all that stuff. You going up there, coming back, and and even how I view like the club now, club and church now. Like it's crazy because the club is full of young folks, and then you go to church and that's all they talking about is trying to get young people, and they recognizing, hey, we're all older, and yeah, it's what you appeal to. And before you move on to the next question, the thing with Sammy like crossing the veil, that's why I wish BDP Sounds was here, because like that part would have like he would have like it would have made so much sense. Like a lot of people was like some people understood that scene with all the different genres or times of music dancing. Some people was kind of like, what's going on? But I look at that as like, or for me and my brothers, like us being in the band and like you playing the song, or you in the club, you might hear a song from 2010. You might hear a song from 1999. But when the song comes on, everybody is moving and it make you like, it's live. Like it can kind of, I guess, break that veil we was talking about, because that veil will be time in that sense. Because if the song came out in 1999 and everybody in the club moving in 2025, like they moving and grooving and like that's powerful.
And I'm gonna say this. I had and somebody said this on I was watching a TikTok video. Annie wasn't the only hoodoo.
No.
The person that practiced hoodoo. Sammy was.
Right.
Annie was the root worker. And then they said that she said that Sammy, I wish I knew her name so I can give her credit, but Sammy was the conjurer.
Right.
And because Annie was using the root working to protect, to heal, she knew what to use against the vampires. To answer, going back to your question, like, and Sammy was the conjurer because his gift, he brought everybody together. He brought everybody in, and that can be anybody, with the spirit, or I guess gift to like heal anybody with that, gift. I was going somewhere. Yeah, I was going because my mind, I be thinking, but yeah, so Miss Annie, she wasn't the only one. And like in the beginning of the movie, that's what I was getting ready to say, when she was talking about the griots or the griots, those are storytellers. They use their voice. They use their voice to tell stories, whether it's through music, writing, whatever, or speaking, whatever that is.
Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
definitely got people like that in modern times.
I was, and that whole point of making sure that you tell your story is why we're here today, because this next topic we're going to get into is about matriarchy versus patriarchy, and I want to ask you guys, what did you learn from the mothers and the fathers of this film? Because for me, I already talked about Sammy's father, but let's talk about how Smoke and Annie's relationship played out and how their connection to their unborn child made them closer in a sense. Because for me, like I said, I think that with Smoke's choice to come back to Chicago, somebody said it on social media that he came back for Annie, and I agree. That there was a connection there that he couldn't just let go of. Like there was something there that he needed to resolve and he needed to heal from. And also because of their choice to become said villains, they had to come back to the South. But I want to ask you guys, what did you learn from the mothers and fathers of this film?
I think with both the mothers and fathers, they like took on like the best way they knew how, what they knew. And I feel like most of their beliefs come from, you know, what they experienced. And because of that, they protected those they loved, you know, whether it was their children, you know, their children, in the best way that they felt was best, or they knew how, because that's what was learned or taught or experienced by them. So that's just like going in with, like I was saying earlier, with Sammy and his dad, like his, you know, his father, you know, experiencing something along that level, or being taught like that's what you're doing, you know, is evil. And so he trying to keep him chained up in his, like, in his beliefs, not allowing Sammy to be authentically who he is and utilize his gift, because God gave everybody a gift.
Right.
And it's up to us to use it in the best way we know how, without compromising our soul. So that's what I took. That's what I took from it.
Okay. Jonathan?
For me, because I probably would have still been Sammy at the end of the movie. I still would have done that, and I kind of been in a situation, not the same, but like kind of when my mom was like, you know, as far as like the parties and stuff. At one point she was like, nah, like it's too much going on. Actually, I think that was the time that girl got stabbed at Golden Glide, if I'm not mistaken. But at the end of the day, patriarchy, as we saw with the brothers, the dad, the only thing we heard was he was abusive. You know, and for them, you know, they did what they, you know, wanted to do for the most part. Sammy, you know, same thing, and you know, I'm a firm believer in that. Like, as far as no matter if it's matriarchy or patriarchy, like, you know, they gonna want the best for you and probably trying to tell you like, hey, you should do this, or hey, you shouldn't do that. Don't be around this person. Don't go there. You know, but at the end of the day, and as we saw with Sammy, you know, he didn't just put the guitar, I mean the banjo guitar, whatever it was. He didn't put it down just because mom said that, hey, this is bad, or, you know, for what you believe in. Well, not saying it like that, but if your family was like, hey, well, we don't know about that, I don't like that, that don't mean for you to just be like, I'm not going.
Yeah, they kind of like that.
Yeah, but the fact that you're like, okay, like I hear where y'all come from, but this is what I believe in. Like, and again, my belief in my faith or what I like is stronger, you know, than that.
And I do feel like as long as I'm not causing harm to anyone or myself, like, it shouldn't matter. And I feel that way with, you know, people with different beliefs than me, or part of a different religion. Like, I don't criticize, I don't judge what you practice, but you know, sometimes it gets a little irritating because sometimes people see what I do or what I believe in, and they automatically, you know, they give me the side eye, or they got, you know, something to say about it. But I think even like with Annie, we already know that they don't understand, so we're already accepting, like, we get it, okay, you know, it's whatever. But with anybody, as long as you have a relationship with the divine, with God, and you're not causing harm to yourself or nobody, I feel like it's a measure of your heart. That matters.
And for Annie, well, my last little piece, as far as like the miscarriage, or because like I said, it's something that I'm still trying to figure out for myself, like if it's good or bad, like as far as me moving on, because I really don't have a problem with like moving on from things. Like, it doesn't mean I don't feel them, it doesn't mean I don't remember them, But what I also took away as far as with their miscarriage, their child passing, and people paid attention is like, yeah, Smoke, you look nice, you dress, you whatever, you did this in Chicago, you got all this, nice money, but, when him and Annie were talking, and it got to, that part, it was like, I could tell that Annie was moving forward. Like, yeah, she felt what happened, but it's like when Smoke was bringing up, it was like, okay, like, and even she kind of realized, like, okay, you ain't necessarily moved past that. Like, fast forward to the end of the movie, where, I feel like, again, that's why she was peaceful on the other side, with her baby, like, hey, like, we ain't on you. Yeah. Or, if you decide to, cross over, and that's what, I like, because, again, for Annie, she was a strong, black, woman that was about moving forward. Most movies, they try to have her, like, or her type, I should say, kind of hold people back. People don't listen to what she's saying. Yeah. Or she tell you exactly what's going on, and everybody like.
And I'm glad we got to see. I'm glad we got to see that in another light, because for a long time Hollywood be making like, we just ain't nothing but healers. Like I said, it depends on how you use your gift. And I feel like because some people experience certain things, because there are people that they dabble in that, that's their forte, and they want to do stuff like that, whatever, out of whatever reason. But yeah, Hollywood been doing that for a long time, giving people a show, making, witches and warlocks, and most of it seemed bad. But I was going to say, I just thought about it. I think Annie's connection to her lost child, I felt like that was her connection to Smoke, because he went away. And I feel like if she ever lost Smoke, she will always have a piece of him with her child.
Right.
And then with her, talking about, going to the other side and waiting on Smoke. When she threw, whatever she had to throw, them coins and stuff, it was telling her like, this is this is what about to happen. Like, it's coming. So go ahead and get prepared. That's why she was saying, look, I got somebody. I got them the baby waiting for me on the other side, and we gonna be waiting for you.
And that's why, with this question, it ties into the first topic for me, because what I learned from this movie is that patriarchy kind of set up the circumstances, like with Smoke and Stack's father being abusive. That circumstance led to them making the choice of, all right, we got to get rid of him, we got to move, we got to get out of this lifestyle. And the same for Sammy, like, he knew that, okay, if he stayed in this religious, state of mind, stayed in the church, all of that, it would take him away from what he really wanted to do. So that's why I said the patriarchy side of it created the circumstances. But then you got the matriarchy with Annie and how she learned from her ancestors of, all right, this is what to do when this happens. It kind of led to her choices of, all right, I'm going to serve these people. I'm going to, basically help Smoke get to a point of enlightenment when it came to the magic part of, all right, there's other things out here that are going to present itself when it comes to, the vampires and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that was like, okay, it was a bit of circumstances as well, but it was also the choices to believe in that and, just basically ground yourself in the fact that loyalty is conditional. Because if you have someone who is willing to stick by your side, they're going to cross you whenever survival comes into play. And that's where the white supremacy and all the Remick, you know, when he came into play, he wanted to survive even when it came to the natives, you know, chasing after him. It was like, all right, it was a survival tactic, you know, at the end of the day. And he offered money to the Klansmen, and it was like, all right, he's offering me money. He seems like a good guy, you know. They didn't even think about the fact that, hey, this guy came out of nowhere. He could have been dangerous or anything like that. He offered money, so it was like, it was a choice to let him inside. And that's why I feel like, again, the matriarchy of this film was based more on choice versus circumstances. And then the patriarchy balanced that out with, all right, well, this is my circumstances. This is where I was placed. This is how I'm going to be. And that's where I'm like, okay, well, there's the balance there for me. But since we already started into the topic, or the last topic, of religion and spirituality, I'm just going to ask you guys which one resonates with you. I feel like I already know Marty's side of it, but Jonathan, which one resonates well with you? Religion or spirituality?
So I'm definitely not in church every Sunday, so I wouldn't say I'm an overly religious person. Definitely spiritual. Mainly because I've always been that kind of person. I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm skeptical of everything or everybody, but I just was taught to always be thorough and to like look into stuff before you just, you know, jump into it. Like whether it's a woman, whether it's a job, whether it's whatever. Like I'm not really interested in just doing stuff. So I was, you know, definitely something spiritual. Because of course, you know, growing up in the South, you know, when it comes to Christianity, you know, people would be like, I'm about to say a whole bunch of nothing. The same Bible that was used to, you know, pray, you know, over, you know, Sunday dinner was also used by those white people to enslave, you know. So, you know, I'm not necessarily just somebody that where I'm just 100% gonna go by the Bible, but you know, when it comes to other practices, I hope that's the proper term. I'm receptive because I also know, you know, that again, the world, you know, is bigger than me. I don't necessarily know what's on the other side, you know. So again, I could, for all I know, I could be praying to the wrong God for all I know. But you know, in the overall scheme or in relation to the movie, definitely spiritual. And like I said, I would have definitely, you know, been like Smoker, you know, listening to my lady, or you know, just because again, I'm for what I'm seeing also. Like it's a combination for me. Like it's what I see and what I
think was working.
yeah, and what I feel. I don't just go off, you know, what somebody tells me. That's with anything. Like so yeah, to you know, sum all of that up, because like I said, I feel like, you know, if you not because I'm like, you know, we're not firm in those two things, but anybody can kind of mold you any kind of way. Like, and I know, and I'm just keeping 100 people that I know like that, where it's like I can kind of mold like their thinking or how they, and it's like, no, bro, you got to be solid in what you believe. If you believe that I'm a vampire, then damn it, I'm a vampire. Like, if you believe that you need to, instead of me praying to my God, you need to go, you know, in your corner, do your thing. Like, I try not to be dismissive, because again, I'm somebody that, hey, if all hell breaking loose, pray to every God. I'm gonna be that. Actually, that's why when you go to jail, like that's why all them dudes that they start
converting.
I'm a Muslim now. Yeah, I done pray to this God. Like, yeah, you believe in all that stuff. Like a lot of that stuff started making sense. You're like, hold up. Wait, you know, maybe this is making sense. Maybe all this stuff isn't, you know, or how I look at everything. Everything is all related, because we're all human. So it's like somebody might look at, you know, somebody doing Haitian. I don't want to say black magic. That might be the wrong term. But you know, voodoo, praying. I look at all this stuff. It's like the same thing. It's just who and what you, like I said, believe in, like, you know, for the most part. Like, because, like I said, Remy, he didn't really care about, you know, what your religion was, what you, is your blood good? Oh, okay, cool. Like, join the game. Like,
I think with certain things, you gotta really, you know, be tapped in and know what you're doing, you know, do your research and stuff like that. But if I'm not mistaken, voodoo is a religion. It's a practice, and
it's
they
not
have
bad,
to,
actually.
no, and you have to. I think you have to be initiated in voodoo, and then hoodoo is not a religion. Hoodoo, they just work with herbal elements. They work with elements, you know, of the earth. So like plants and all that kind of stuff. It's healing. It's medicinal. It's protection. Before we got to all these, you know, pharmaceuticals shit. But so for me, I grew up Christian, and even, you know, my family, my background, Christian. My grandfather, a reverend, my grandmother, evangelist. So I felt at one point, I can say, I think right after or a little before I had rest, I was trying to get more into the, you know, the word or my religion at the time. I even joined the church. The only thing I really enjoyed about church was going to sing. The being part, I had joined choir because I was like, I want to be a part of choir because that's what I felt good doing. It filled my spirit. Like, you know, I felt the spirit. I loved it, and it was and sometimes it don't even matter about, I guess, the religion or who's speaking at the moment. Is the word. So, you know, the church I was going to at the time, like, I could understand what he was saying, and I didn't feel like I was being criticized or shunned, you know, because I wasn't completely, like, I felt like I wasn't as close to God as I thought I was. But then also with religion, I started feeling like I was in this box. Like, I was contained. Like, I just, box, like, I'm scared to do certain things because I'm going to go to hell. Right. Like, so
some of those standards, technically I should be already.
And the more I had gotten into, you know, I can be a really curious person, and I ended up coming into contact with this woman. She was actually my model coach at the time, but she was also a spiritual advisor, healer, whatever you want to, you know, call her. Mentor. I had called her my mentor at the time because it was helping me through my depression. So I had like got my first tarot read from her, my first shadow work session. Like, we really had like dived deep into some trauma and things like that. But then I was like, this feels good to me. This feels right for me. I don't feel contained. I don't feel no judgment. I can completely be myself. And then when I got, you know, more into it and studying, I was like, I'm good at this. And then I started discovering like more of, you know, who I am, and just being able to, because healing ain't a one-step process. Right. It ain't a one-step process, and I learned that throughout my spiritual journey. So that probably happened in like, so I guess like 2018, 2019 is like, it, you know, it sparked my curiosity. But 2020 is like when I started taking a deep dive. That's when shit started really, stuff started really shifting. Like,
indeed.
And now I'm here in this space, and it feels right. It feels me. I don't feel contained. I don't, just like Sammy, like, you know, his father wanted him to put that guitar down. Like, he was trying to contain him. He was trying to restrict him. And Sammy was like, I'm glad he, you know, went and made a choice to not put down the guitar, but he chose to do it in a way where he didn't have to compromise himself.
this is why I say that Sammy's father was the real villain, or one of the real villains to me, because there was
villain.
Yes, he was.
Sammy's father.
Yes.
Villain is a strong word.
That's why I said it's layers to it, because
I gotta
he
agree.
he wasn't the main villain.
Yeah.
He made himself more important because he wanted Sammy to follow his lead, but it was like you didn't even understand your son enough to know that his way or his path was going to be what he wanted in the first place. So you telling him to put that guitar down, it's not what he needed to hear in that moment.
I mean, yeah, but if we go through how many, hell, even my own mom, like, you know, times when she told me, like, hey, yeah, John, like, yeah, you need to stop doing this, or that, like,
She didn't tell you to stop playing that baritone, though.
I mean, yeah, but I feel like even if she did, going back to what I was saying, like, it's not necessarily, if you know, and actually going back to spirituality, like, I'm a big intent person. Like, that's why, like, again, I hate to say it, if I have to take somebody's life, if you bring that to me, I'm going to be able to sleep at night. Like, I promise you, I'm not going to miss no sleep. I'm going to go down to I'm going to turn myself in, like, the whole nine, because I'm going to be like, you brought this to me. I didn't bring trouble. God knows my heart. Like, I'm not tripping off that, you know, but, you know, just because, you know, your parent tells you, you know, hey, you shouldn't be doing this, you know, I wouldn't say necessarily feeling per se. That's a parent saying, like I said, that's like mommy telling me. Actually, no.
You ain't even let me explain why. But okay,
that's like mommy or Brandon's dad, like, you know, and I don't, you know, some emotional shit, like, for real. That's like them telling me and Brandon, hey, yeah, y'all going to these clubs and these parties, like, it ain't nothing there but some demonic stuff, like, it ain't nothing but smoking and all this sex stuff and da-da-da, whoop-de-whoop.
But they didn't tell you that, though.
I mean, mommy
you're
didn't
saying what I'm
necessarily
saying.
say I had to stop, but mommy was definitely like, and Brandon's there like,
they let you live your life.
Like, they were like, yo, what are y'all going to? Like, y'all are 15, 16, y'all come back at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, like, y'all.
See what you.
But
they
did let us, like I said,
they let you live your life.
And technically, we see that with Sammy though. Like, have we seen the movie where, again, everything still played out, Stack and the vampire girl came to visit him, and he was like, oh, damn, he ain't playing the music no more? Oh, well, yeah, I put it down, and da-da-da. Yeah, that night was crazy, bro. But the fact that he was still playing, you know, it was like, again, going back to what I was saying, like, it don't matter about your matriarchy or patriarchy. Like, it's about what you believe in and what you're doing. Because if you think that, and what Sammy did, well, clearly as a blues musician, like, you hear people. You're not going around going to these, you know.
I think for I do feel like his father was a villain in a way, because his father was getting to the point where he was invading. Mm-hmm. He was invading.
Was he?
Yes, because he was taking his guitar.
He was.
He was.
But
he was going. He was.
Sammy still was about to show up to the. He still had the.
See, Sammy
I
had
can't
to
remember.
make a choice.
He said the girls asking, "Hey, yeah, where you gonna be at Saturday, Sammy? Yeah, you gonna tell me like?"
But I'm
Sammy
saying,
made
I
the
didn't really
choice.
stop nothing. Like,
He made the choice, but that's why I said, because of his father's strong beliefs in his religion, this is why I thought that not only is he a villain, but he made it to where
he 2 minutes of the movie.
He tried again. That's why I said again, you gotta rewatch it.
And every time his dad approached him, every time his dad approached him was about him, you know, living by the church or
Basically,
the word.
He wanted him to follow his path.
Cool.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
Which
And he was active. He was actively trying to snatch this.
But if we're applying this, but that's if you allow,
not letting him be authentically who he is.
But that's if you allow that to, just like if he allowed Remick to come in and hey Sammy, we want you for your gift.
That's what I'm saying.
He was like, okay, Remick, turn me into a vampire.
That's exactly what I'm saying. He didn't. He was strong enough to deny what his father was saying, but that doesn't discount that his father was trying to make him follow this path and using religion as a weapon.
I mean,
we could easily.
He was using it as a weapon.
Okay,
to say, okay.
But when you said the word, actually, I'm gonna look at the word villain.
But listen, Sammy could have easily, what Sammy experienced, he could have easily dropped his guitar. Because I thought he was.
And honestly,
they got my ass at the end.
And if his dad was that good, if he was a villain would get. If he said, "Hey, put that in that guitar," well, no, Dad, I'm gonna still play. A villain is gonna have you put that guitar. Like we wouldn't have seen him play throughout that.
But
he
no,
would have been like,
I'm not.
That's why I said it's layers.
Yeah.
To it.
And I'm not saying...
A villain is a character, real or fictional, who is perceived as morally bad, wicked, or evil. They often act in opposition to the protagonist or hero and are typically portrayed as causing harm or suffering.
He was.
He was.
And let me say this. Let me say this. When you are not...
Suffering, that's a strong word.
Because he's not using his God-given gift.
He was still using it, though.
He chose to use it.
Well... I'm not gonna say he wasn't using his God-given gift, but his dad was trying to take that away.
He chose to go against what his dad was saying.
And his dad was making him suffer by trying to control him.
I think
to control him because he wanted him to follow his path.
The line that got me was when he told his dad, when he said to his dad, I want to be free from this.
I think
when he told him, "Hey, I want you to be a part of this church, and I want you to say this for the service."
No.
He said, "I want to be free from this for a day. I've been working. I've been doing this, all of this over here. I did all my chores."
His dad let him do it though, right?
No, But again, he was still judging him in the midst of him saying that. That's why I'm saying his villain part. It wasn't just
when you do it right or wrong.
That's what a villain is, though. John.
A villain don't have.
No.
Listen. But listen,
what
I'm about to
say.
say
is gonna judge you whether you do it right or wrong.
But a villain don't have to be somebody that's just doing it wrong. That's just plain out evil. It don't.
This don't say evil. It says morally. It says.
And with that, because I was getting ready to say something
by the English.
With that, and even with the Bible, we gotta look deeper and more than just the surface of the word.
Who deliberately harms others or breaks the law?
He is harming him.
He harmed him by saying,
and he's breaking the law.
You are basically engaging
his innate gift
in that.
I agree. I agree with
everything
you saying. What I'm saying is villain. That's a strong term.
That's why I said it's layers. Villain? It's layers to it. It's not just that he's the main villain. It's not that he's the biggest villain. I think that he's a villain because he didn't allow his son to live out his gifts.
He did though.
No, he did not.
He was not trying to allow him to do that.
He was not trying to allow that.
As we saw at the end, no.
He had to choose.
No.
When Smoking Stack pulled up.
Okay,
but
going back to choice. Actually, I'm related to me. When I came out of my mother, it didn't matter what my father wanted for me. It didn't matter what my mother wanted for me. At the end of the day, it's what I want to do. So regardless of if mommy had told me, "Hey, you're hanging out with this guy Brandon, y'all going to clubs and all I see is fights and all this sexual stuff that's bad, you need to stop going," and I'm like, okay, mommy.
But she would be, if you were telling this story,
I still chose to go.
If you were telling this story to somebody else, she would be the villain in it because she's trying to.
She wouldn't be the villain. She would be a parent. She wouldn't be a.
That's
villain.
not being a parent, John. See now again we get into a
I
whole
see
nother
being
topic.
Protective, but
we get into a whole other topic.
A protective parent.
That's not being
because I never once like I said, actually as a matter of fact, when that girl got stabbed at Golden Glide, did mommy not tell us, "Oh yeah, y'all not going back to Golden Glide"? And I remember because I didn't go back for at least like 3 weekends. But at the end of the day, you know, mommy was like, okay, damn, this serious event, this girl really got stabbed. Like, this was on the news and shit. Like, but even if mommy was like, I don't want y'all, you know, necessarily going, she eventually was like, okay, well, this is what you want to do. So I'm looking at it as like,
but
mommy
did
being
mommy
a villain,
ever
like,
use religion as the reason why you couldn't go back to Golden Glide? Did she ever say, "Oh well, God is going to judge you for going back"? Exactly. That's my point.
Okay,
he tried to use religion as the
but
reason.
even if he used it, it don't matter. Like I said,
That
Yeah,
is
and he
that's a weapon.
tried to scare him out of.
That's a weapon, Jonathan.
okay,
Out of free.
but somebody could tell me, hey, Jonathan, you had premarital sex. You're automatically going to hell. Okay, like you could tell me that, but that don't mean that I'm just gonna. Oh my God! No, like again, I'm like you said, like I made the choice to do this, so it is not necessarily, you know, me being a bad person or whatever. Well, actually, I'm going back to the villain thing. Actually, no.
And look at it. I got another example.
I respect it.
I got another example.
I'm going to say protective parent. I respect you
So
guys.
you think his father was being protected?
I respect you guys' viewpoint.
I got another example. Okay, so if we just talking about superheroes and villains, the superhero wants to save the world, but the villain is getting in the way of that. His father was getting in the way of him being able to freely use his gift.
Define get in the way, because if
you
you
didn't want him to go out,
And he wanted him to follow his path, and he was using religion.
But if I'm a parent and I say, give me
your
your banjo, and you able to walk over there, get your banjo, and look me dead in the face and say, yeah, Dad, I'm about to go da 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 da, and walk off. And I'm not able to stop you from still going.
But that just goes into you making a choice.
That goes into making a choice.
A villain is gonna stop you.
A
villain is gonna stop you.
No, a villain is not gonna stop you.
A villain doesn't have to stop you. The villain don't always win, do they? Superheroes.
The villains don't have power over your choice.
No. But I'm not. You're talking about choice. What I'm saying is, when you say the word villain,
right?
Again, I looked it up. Whatever.
But you went back in the choice because you said Sammy made the choice, so that doesn't make his dad a villain.
Thank you. Thank you.
No. Okay. Maybe I said that wrong. What I'm saying is, again, when it comes back to everything, Sammy, all in all, because I know we going hell long. When it comes to Sammy did in what I believe, and like I said, as far as what you want to do, like, and kind of. That's why I said when it goes back to a relationship, for me, a relationship, friend, family, it don't matter, like none of that, because at the end of the day, as we saw, Sammy had to live his life. It didn't matter what his dad told him, it didn't matter what Stack told him, it didn't matter what blah, blah, blah. If you want to be a blues singer until you're 80, 70, whatever age he was, if this is what you want to do that.
And so are you ultimately saying that we can look at Sammy's father as the person that he learned from instead of a villain?
Because and like I said, I say that because, like I said, again, like I come from the South, like I know how religion is used. Like that's why I made that mention early on where I said, yeah, that same Bible that we used to pray over Sunday dinner was the same Bible that was used to, hey, I'm a white man and according to this is why I should, have you enslaved. So like that's what I'm saying. Going back
to elaborate when I said, like, instead of seeing Sammy's dad as a villain, we can see him as somebody that he learned a lesson from. And that was his test. His test was to make a choice, and even the test was even with Remick, because he,
I feel like we've all had parents that,
And I just want to say this too. God is not always some external being. It's within you. Yeah. And that's what I was saying, about taking your body is your temple too. Taking care of your body physically, emotionally, mentally. Like, you got to find that person within your higher self, that person, the that little voice in your head sometimes, you know, that's your higher self speaking to you.
No.
Like saying, oh, this ain't,
And I'm so keen on that. Like, that's why I'm like, people, like, and why I like the whole party thing with singers, because I'm like, yeah, people look at me and be like, yeah, bro, you be turning, you be da-da-da. I'm like, no, my shit is an invite. Like, if you ain't who I fuck with, and like, the only thing you can do is watch and ask and be like, well, hey, when's the da-da-da? Or, hey, yeah, I saw you at that, because I'm very protective. You know, at one point, it was like, yeah, actually, we both were like that. Yeah, everybody come into the crib. I don't care. I'm not gonna charge you nothing. Yeah, everybody have fun, but it's like, no, you gotta be protective of that. Like, again, you don't need a 3-story house. You're like, whatever is your space, whatever is your mind, whatever. Like I said, it could be your work. Yeah, we were just talking about that earlier, like work. If you can't come into a space where your work environment and you got this kind of vampire over here, but then you're draining it, like that shit weighs a toll on you. And I'm like, I'm not going for that, because you're just gonna be drained and everybody gonna move on. Hate to say it, but that's the reality of what's going on. So.
Well, to round this topic out, because we have gone over a little bit of the time frame, but ultimately, I feel like the biggest hero of this movie was Sammy. Him playing and him being the conjurer of the spirits and making everyone come together. He was the one who had the ultimate power in the end. But the reason why, again, I think that his dad was the villain, because he made it to where, again, he thought about, okay, my dad is over here saying I need to do this. Religion is telling me, okay, I need to honor my father, I need to honor my mother. But of course, his mother wasn't alive, so it's like, okay, my father is telling me to do this, but deep down, I love this over here. So that's why I said he had to make the choice of, okay, whether I choose to do what my father wants me to do or choose to do what I love to do. And he ultimately made the right choice. But that's why, again, when you think about it deeper than just, okay, like a villain is a person like Remick who wants to take my blood, he wants to take my powers and all of that stuff.
What is Remick?
Again, he's a villain too. That's, again, we're not.
That's two different spectrums.
That's
bro.
why I said it's layers. I said that.
It ain't like that's spectrum.
That is layers.
Remick and his dad.
That's layers, because again, Remick on one end, Remick wanted his powers. He wanted him to bring him closer to his people that again were a part of him and made him who he was. He wanted to take Sammy's gifts. That's why I'm saying he wanted to use Sammy for his purpose. But his father again wanted to use Sammy to basically be a religious figure in his church, and that's why, again, he is a villain in the movie.
I say this with the utmost respect. Sammy wasn't even thinking about his dad. Sammy was in there, goddamn, eating some pussy.
But why wasn't he thinking about his dad? If his dad was a hero,
his dad ain't that much of a villain.
If his dad was a hero, why wouldn't he think about, hey, my dad is over here telling me to do this? Why wouldn't he think about his dad? If that's what I'm saying.
Because a villain would stop me from getting some pussy. That's a villain.
His dad was basically saying you're around people that's sinning, that's doing the things that you shouldn't be doing.
But he didn't stop nothing.
But Remick didn't stop him either.
No, Remick was about to stop him.
He didn't stop him though. He didn't stop him.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. You're looking at it because of his dad didn't stop him, but he was trying to. His dad was saying.
His dad was trying to.
I agree with everything you're saying. I'm just saying, when you say the word villain, again, looking at the definition, not what I think.
See, you're looking at it from a definitive standpoint, but I'm saying that
I'm looking at it from
the layers to it. His dad, if he would have listened to his dad in the first place, he wouldn't even been in that position.
But and going back to why I would be, like I said, Stack, Smoke, or the combination of it, because again, I would be the kind. I don't have time to be contemplating with myself. What does my dad think? I don't have time for all that shit. It's like, hey, this is what I want to do, and even how I move in my life in real life. Like everybody sees it. Like, if I want to go move and do here, if I want to be around this, I'm not too much worried about what that hell, even if Mama was alive, like, you know, or whoever, like, I wouldn't be. I would tell Mom, even if she told me, yeah, John, I don't know, unless it was something that was like causing harm, you know, to everybody, or, you know, just some crazy shit, I'm finna go do that. Like, I feel like, you know, we live in a society where people get too caught up in, again, the mental of, okay, well, this family member wants me to do that. My mom said this, my dad said that. No,
but that's what I'm saying. He didn't get caught.
Your people just want you to be, you know.
You're not. You're saying that from that standpoint, but that's what I'm saying. He didn't listen to his father because his father was coming from a religious standpoint.
The only thing that I was debating was the word that when you use the word villain, I was like, that's a very strong word.
It's a strong word to you. But again, it's layers to whether he is a villain or he's a hero. Because if you look at it from, okay, did he help Sammy his storyline, or did he take away from it?
You don't have to look at it as a hero or villain. You just look at it as
that is a hero or a villain.
You know,
a hero is going to a hero isn't going to stop you from being you.
But and I'm glad you just said that, stop you. So again, had the movie started from the time when he went to the church and his dad said, hey, I want you to stop. His dad
was trying to stop him.
No. We're not talking. You didn't say the word trying. You said stop. You didn't say stop.
But that's what I'm saying. So if you're looking at it as if he's a villain or he's a hero, you can't say, oh, well, his dad didn't stop him, but he's a hero because he tried to protect him.
Actually, what was the original question?
Because I said, who is the real villain and who is the fake villain? That's why I said he's a real villain because he tried to stop him.
His dad is a villain in his...
Yes, his dad is a villain.
Who's the real villain?
Well, in my storyline, again, there's layers to it because you got Remick, who's the real villain. You got the Klansmen, who were real villains, and you also got his father, who is a real villain. Because again, he wouldn't even got to that point of showing his gifts.
Is this coming from a personal...
No, it's not. It's not personal at all. It's me watching the movie and seeing that even after all that he went through, his dad was still trying to say, okay.
His dad was still accepting even when he came back.
I didn't say he was accepting or not denying. No, I'm saying that he was still trying to say that he went through all of that and still was trying to condemn him because of what he did.
Well, if we're going off the movie, technically, we saw 5-10 minutes of his dad during the daytime, whatever, church time. Hey, yeah, you shouldn't be doing that, blah, 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 blah. After that, after he left his dad, it wasn't no more like his dad popped up at the juke joint. And,
that's the same with the Klansmen.
This is what
I
I'm
was going to say, we can say his dad was the fake villain. Because he didn't even realize he was being.
I would go with that.
The villain
I would say fake villain, yes.
Because he was trying to be protective. He called himself being protective.
Because we done seen plenty of movies where dads house party. What did the dad do? He popped up at the party.
He was
that's a villain.
He was keeping trying to keep Kimmy away.
So if you're caught up, well, let me not say caught up. If you're referencing the religion part. Yes, again, we grew up in the South, like that's why I said, hey.
But take out the religion. It was just about Sammy,
the same.
Being who he was.
Going back to what I was saying, like even before I pray, technically, the prayer that I say before I eat my food, somebody could look at that and be like, yeah, like that's from the same Bible that was used to enslave you. Okay, cool. But again, how I interpret it and what it's used for, like what I. Again, going back to what I was saying earlier about filtering, it's not about, oh, well, this person used religion, oh, but this person tried to hate that, it don't matter. Like I say, if you a strong person, where again, like we saw with Sammy, if I want to play this damn banjo with this guitar, it don't matter if this goddamn vampire say, oh, I want you to play for me. It don't matter if my dad say, hey, you need to be playing here on Sunday. It don't matter if Smoke or Stack tell me, oh, bro, we gonna make some money, bro. You gonna play this juke joint. It's not about that. It's about what I wanna, play and how I wanna do it. Cause as we saw, Stack put a fucking gun to his head and said, hey, no, actually, if you trying to do that, fuck it. No, like you're not necessarily a villain. Like you somebody that again has been where this person is talking about going, and you like, bro, no, like it ain't what you're thinking. And at the end of the day, Smoke didn't necessarily stop him or be like.
Ultimately, all of them were not trying or didn't want to or were allowing Sammy to experience life the way Sammy wanted to experience it. Because of what they experienced, or because of what they wanted.
Cause if we talking about villains, I'm more concerned with the wife or the girl. That's what Sammy is. I'm like, she a villain. You a whole wife.
This is why I asked you who, in your opinion, is the real villains. But we are already getting over time, and it's going to have to go into a part 2 for this topic because this is very juicy, and I feel like. And
I definitely wanted to answer that. I definitely wanted to answer the last question.
I know you did because man, this is a very juicy topic. It's a very juicy movie, but. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight for this episode of Balance. We're going to have to come back for you, part 2 of this episode. And I just want to thank you for coming out tonight, Marty, Jonathan. This has definitely been a great topic to embark on, but this is Before the Fame. Thank you guys for listening. We will be back to you with another episode next week. And yeah, man, this has been fun. Thank you guys. We're out. See, y'all hit the mark right at 90. This is.
Yeah, I couldn't wait to get to this Ku Klux, this Klan question.
I'm over there holding my bladder. I was like, yo, this is juicy, man.
I'm sorry.
Nah, you good.
I'm sorry. And I text you, I was like, damn, can I get up?
Nah, you good.
Okay. I've been the person that, people have looked at as, the villain, the person. Like, that's what I'm like.
Oh, shoot.
That's another thing, too.